Okay, so if you're thinking about changing your secondary filter, don't. But then don't pay someone a lot of money to do it. Firstly, remove both these covers to get into there. You remove that one as well, because you're going to have to sometimes get your hand around there to try and use a screwdriver to lift the harness up to get the difficult bolt on. To get these off, all I do is just slide the rubber off over them. You don't need to take the plugs out. So the hardest thing was getting in there, obviously, but there's a bolt up behind there on a mounting bracket which you can undo and get off quite easy. Where is it? Can't see it. The whole thing is I've had to use a mirror, one of them telescopic mirrors, and a mechanic's torch before you can even attempt to do anything. So where that screwdriver is pointing, there's a mount there with one 12mm or 10mm bolt holding it on, and it is fucking hard to get back on. You might jag it the first time, but look how skinny my arm is. Look how skinny my arm is, and it's swollen from trying to get in there. Yesterday I gave up, and this morning I managed to get in there because I've lubricated my arm. And this here, I had to, this bolt here on this wishbone, I had to literally put a fucking rag on it and put a tape around it so I didn't rip my arm to pieces. And you have to try and fit your arm through that and that, as you can see. And my arm's skinny and I only just got it. So I would actually, yeah, make sure your arm can fit, because that one it's really difficult. Sorry, my alarm just came on then. You have to unclip all this wiring harness first. So the first step is to get in there, make sure you got all the tools, get this wiring harness clip off. They've made it this in as hard as they possibly could think of. So you've got 3 different clips, 1, 2 and 3 over there, and they're all different to get off. This one I cannot get it to clip back on, so I've just cable tied it. That way it doesn't slide around and cut into the cable, but it works. And once you get that off, you've got a mounting bolt up there. You've also got a, once you get that cable out the way, disconnect that clip there too off the harness. Slide all that out the way. Try not to break that sensor off there, or gearbox thing, gearbox connection. That crank sensor's got to come undone, all those 3. Sorry if I'm dragging this out, I'm just trying to remember as I did it because there was so much involved. And then undo that bolt, you've got that other bolt undone, and then you're going to undo these 4 bolts with an Allen key. They're hard to get to, and I'm telling you, you've got to undo these 2 bolts here that hold this canister on. There's one in there and you can't see the second one, it's up there. You need a deep 12mm bolt socket, and you have to use a 1/4" set. I ran around everywhere trying to get a deep socket because all the Bunnings were sold out, but that's what you need, a 1/4" deep socket, 12mm, and that's the only room you're going to have because those got those long bolts. And once you get them out, you can undo the banjo line, take that off, unclip it with those 2 white clips, move it out of the way, pull the whole thing back. You don't have to take it right off it. Move the harness out of the way, and then you can undo those bolts and try and slide the filter out in between. Getting it back on, all on is the opposite. The hardest thing was getting that bolt off originally, working out how to get that mount bolt off at the top, and to get things back on, that was the hardest one. Definitely that bracket bolt at the back. Yeah, I ended up just jagging it in the end, but trying to line it up with the mirror and everything was hard. Like I said, you've got limited space. You can see how skinny I am. I'm only fucking 72 kilo, 71 sorry, and I'm 5'11", 179 centimeters. So if you think you can get through there, do it. And you have to have your tyre off. I don't think you can get from it. It makes any difference if you're on a hoist. You can only really get through there if you come through this way. I wouldn't attempt it again. I know how to do it, but I've done that one for life. Mine's done 140,000. I don't think it's ever been changed. It was quite darkish, blackish, but not filthy. More just like diesel stained. What do you call it, exhaust colour. So I put a new one in, a Ryco, and I suggest, yeah, your choice if you want to attempt it. If you have any questions, just ask me, but you will need a lot of tools, and if I can save someone from figuring out how to get that top one off, and tell them be prepared for a lot of swearing and carrying on trying to get that other bolt in if you jag it the first time like I did. The other thing is to get my arm through there, and I'm skinny, is I had to put vegetable oil on my arm to get it through. I've cleaned my arm up. That's yesterday. What made it even harder is trying to get it through there today was my arm swollen up from trying to get it through there yesterday. That rips your skin, and then you got to try not to snap these off, and then try not to snap that crank off of all the filling around. Now I'm just going to bleed it and see if it starts. It should start. What I'll do is I'll use the pump on the top to pump the fuel, and then I'll just disconnect one hose to let some diesel out, put the tyre on and start it. If it does have trouble starting, I'll put it in the comments.